I need to take the fattest shit known to mankind right now, but I told myself that I need to record this video before I can actually go. So let's just make this very quickly. Today I'm going to be going over exactly how small clothing brands are quietly making millions of dollars. What I mean by this is if you scroll on Instagram, you see a brand with like 20k followers. In your head, you're probably like, oh, he's probably making 5k per month, maybe 10k. Motherfucker, they're making 6 figures per month. I'm going to be explaining exactly how they're able to do that, the structures they have, and why it makes sense, and how you guys can implement this for your business, and whether or not you guys want to be the small, quiet brand that makes a lot of sales, or be the loud brand that everybody knows of. Pros and cons for both. However, before I go over that, I want to explain who I am, and because obviously some of you guys might think that I'm talking out of my ass. Speaking of ass, I need to take a shit. Number one, I'm doing around 6 figures per month. This is a Shopify dashboard screenshot from the last 3 months. It's currently October, which is the reason why this is just like 8 days. Maybe I forged this, who knows? Maybe I used AI to make it. You guys would never know. I've also helped a bunch of clients start and scale their clothing brand. This is a couple testimonials. If you guys go to my second channel, which this is on my second channels, I did post a bunch of testimonials as well. So I'm sure some of you guys did watch that. If you guys want to know more information about this, and if you're interested, I'll talk about it after the video. I'm also a regular Joe Schmo, or I was a Joe Schmo, so I wasn't an influencer. I'm not a full-time guru, so it's not like I hit 6 figures and then suddenly just turned to coaching. Like, I still run my brand till this day. Started off with 1k, no connections, no mentorship. I learned everything by myself, which means when it comes to teaching other people and making this video, I think I'm pretty credible because I learned how to do everything. It's not like when I first started my brand, I outsourced design. Like, I learned design myself. It's not like I hired somebody to make a website. Like, I learned it myself. Everything I do for my brand, and I do till this day, I learned by myself first, and then I mastered it, and then I outsourced it, if I did even outsource it. Like, I still do most of the stuff till this day. This is a timeline on everything. So I started late 2022, and as you guys can see, I hit 7 figures at 21 within 2 to 3 years. This is my second warehouse that I got literally 4 or 5 months ago. We're outgrowing the place as well, but this is just a basic summary. And my follower count, I have 50,000 followers right now, which isn't bad. Like, it's like a decent amount. But when I hit 7 figures, I think I had 30k. Okay, so I think that says a lot. And also, I think I hit 6 figures when I had around 10k followers. So the average person, if they went to my profile like a couple months ago or whenever I hit 7 figures, they would be like, there's no way this brand has hit 7 figures. But guess what? I did. Which leads to my next point, which is, do you need a lot of followers to get a lot of sales? And I broke it down to 3 different categories. We have impressions, customers, and returning customers. So let's just go over impressions first, right? So we have cheap impressions and expensive impressions. So a good example of cheap impressions is like TikTok, right? It's very easy to get a viral video. Most views just don't convert. Mainly it's just to get your name out there. So it's mainly for impressions. So obviously this is my TikTok. I have around 23k. I have 1 million likes, and I've gotten a decent amount of viral videos. I just chose 3 here. But I'm telling you right now, every single time I got a viral video with like 500k, 1 million views, etc., I got no sales. Okay, so it probably means it doesn't convert. And then we have expensive impressions, which is Instagram, right? Or any other social media app. Instagram usually has more engagement, and people that like something on Instagram are usually more likely to shop. So if you get a viral video on Instagram, or if you get a viral post on Instagram, you're probably going to get a lot more sales compared to getting a viral video on TikTok. Also, ads is another example of expensive impressions because you're pretty much paying to get engagement and paying to get sales. They usually convert better, but obviously it's harder to get, right? It's harder to get a viral reel or a viral video on Instagram, and it's also harder to get ads because you have to pay for it, right? TikTok is cheap, it's free, right? Ads you have to pay for. The reason why this is important is because just because of the fact that you have, let's just say, 100k followers on TikTok doesn't really mean you're making 6 figures per month. It actually might be the opposite. You might be making nothing because TikTok is oversaturated, and especially the content matters as well. So the reason why I say TikTok usually just doesn't convert is because usually 9 times out of 10, if you post something business related, a clothing brand related on TikTok, it's something funny. It's like a skit, or it's like something that's brain rot, or it's not something that's really brand related. Therefore, the customers and the views you're attracting are like the vast majority, right? And you know what everybody says, if you target everybody, you will target nobody. So same exact thing here. I got 2.1 million views, 1.5 million views, 800,000 views. This video was just a video of me going over all the packages that I packed for my drop. This video was a video of me going through the process of packing orders. This video is when Quan unboxed my hoodie. And guess what? This is a total of like 4 million views altogether just from these 3 videos. And I got 0 sales pretty much from these 3 videos. And guess what? This was back to back to back. So obviously it probably means it doesn't have anything to do with converting or getting sales for your brand. So that is the reason why cheap impressions is, I'm not saying these are bad, because it is good to get your name out there, but you can't expect to get sales. I think Instagram is a little bit more, it's just better because you have to, you know, really like the said post or said video to actually like it. And there's a lot more quality pictures and quality and aesthetics for Instagram. Like TikTok, I don't see any TikTokers or any brands that really care about the aesthetic. Instagram, every single brand cares about the aesthetic. So which therefore the type of quality of people that they attract is just higher and better. So next we have customers. So customers will buy from websites without looking at socials here and there. I will say for the most part, okay, a lot of the brand owners that have a brand, they think, oh yeah, like every single brand or every single customer that buys from my brand will go to my account first, see and scroll through it, and then buy. However, sometimes if you have a good ad creative and if you are running ads, people will buy without looking at your socials, without clicking on your profile, without following you. That happens all the time, right? I have bought from brands that I don't personally follow. I have bought from brands whenever I just get an ad and I like it and I just buy. There is something called the 7 rule, 7x rule, or it's 7 to 12 or some shit like that, but it pretty much means somebody has to see that specific product or your account or that ad around 7 to 12 times before they actually purchase it or they do some sort of action. This is true for me personally. When I buy from new brands or another brand that I haven't heard of, I make sure that I see that brand again and again and again, and by around like the 8th or 10th time I see the brand pop up on my feed, maybe I get an ad, that's when I purchase it. So that is something you have to keep in mind, and you should also you should keep the basics in mind as well. So what I mean by this is, like, if you have 0 followers, you have no posts, and you run ads on that account, you can't expect to get sales, right? You need to have decent amount of followers, decent amount of social proof, etc., which I'll go over later, but that is just the basics. You need to have the basics in mind, and once you have the basics, you can get a lot of sales just from ads without even having 20,000 followers, without having 10K followers. And I feel like the biggest myth that I hear a lot is like, oh, you need to have at least 30K followers for you to hit, for example, 50K per month. That is completely not true. Like I said earlier, hit 6 figures when I had 10,000 followers, and I was doing pretty good numbers when I had like 3,000 followers, 4,000 or 5,000 followers. So it doesn't really matter that much, but I would say you need to have a decent amount of followers and stuff like that, which I'll go over the exact amount in literally 30 seconds. But before I go over that, I want to go over returning customers. So people are way more inclined to buy from your brand again if they have bought from it once. So a good example is, like, if you guys go to a tailor shop, right? So for example, this is an example I'm using from my real life. I wanted to get like a suit tailored or some shit like that. So I just chose a random tailor shop on the internet, the closest one near me. I went there. They were nice. They did everything pretty cheap. Turnaround time was pretty fast. So from my perspective, because everything I wanted was good, I'm not going to go out my way to find a different tailor shop, if that makes any sense, because they already did a good job. So if you guys have somebody that bought from your brand, you have good quality, you have good, you provide a good experience, you know, XYZ, good fast shipping times, they usually don't have another reason to buy from another brand, right? So obviously this is a little bit different because it's a clothing brand and it's online, but the point I'm trying to make is they are more inclined to buy from your brand again, especially if you have good experience, good quality, etc. And the only thing here, though, the only caveat is that you need to have a good business model. So what I mean by this is you need to have good quality. You need to have good fast shipping times. You need to have good customer support. You need to have a smooth experience for all of this to really work. Now, how do these brands really even do this, right? Like, how do these brands like actually make decent amount of sales without having crazy amount of followers? Well, I broke it down to 3 different steps. Number 1, we have basics, okay? So you need to have at least 1,000 followers. I think this is the bare minimum. Anything over 3K, I feel like personally for me, after I hit like 3,000 followers, I stopped caring about the follower count because it really doesn't matter, okay? As long as you have at least 1,000 followers, you're good. Now, how do you get 1,000 followers? Good question. Post on organic, post on TikTok, post on Instagram Reels, maybe run boosted posts here and there, maybe tell your friends to follow your account, do a bunch of giveaways. There's so many methods. If you guys are complaining and saying that, oh, I can't hit 1,000 followers, you're literally lying straight to your face. So you need to have at least over 1,000 followers. You also need to have around 30 plus social proofs. So what I mean by this is like, it can be highlights of people that posted your brand and tagged you and you repost it, or it can be your tagged account. So if you go to an Instagram profile and you look at the tagged, you can see other people that have, worn your product and tagged you, or it can be videos from other influencers that they tagged you from their account. But I would say you need to have at least 30 plus, because it kind of provides like the customer, okay, like this is an actual brand, right? It's not like some run your bands method type of brand. They actually ship, they actually deliver. You need to have a decent social presence. So what I mean by this is like, just post, you feel me? Like post on TikTok and Instagram Reels, and you should have at least 300K views total. So I think this is for each platform. So technically altogether 600,000. Guys, I don't think you guys understand how easy it is to get 300K views like for a month. And this is per month, by the way. It's pretty easy. Obviously, if you post every single day, it should be light. But if you're running ads on top of this, like 300K is easy. You know what I'm trying to say? So I think the reason why you need to have at least 300K plus views is because it provides the awareness, right? So like people are more likely to buy from a brand they've heard of versus a brand that they've never heard of. So this is the reason why you want to have your name out there, which is the reason why, like I said earlier, the cheap impressions, which is TikTok, is honestly good. It's really good when you're first starting out. Obviously, like I said earlier, the basic fundamentals need to be good. You need to have good products, good website, and good quality as well. And step 2, we have ads. So 99% of these brands that are low key, that don't have that much social proof, nobody really knows who they are, they don't have that many followers, 99% of their sales are coming from ads, okay? So if they don't have reach, because obviously if you do the math, right, if they're a quiet brand or if they're a small brand, there's a reason why they're a small brand, right? If every single celebrity was wearing their brand, they won't be a small brand anymore. So because of the fact that they're a small brand and they probably don't get viral videos and stuff like that, and because they don't have that many followers, most of their sales will come from ads. Instagram ads or TikTok ads, doesn't really matter, but usually it's IG ads, and majority of their budget. So if they have like $2,000 for their budget for marketing, like 1,800 of that will go into just ads, right? So they're not doing influencer marketing at all. They're not doing no organic. They're literally just pouring money on ads, which do work. Okay, I'm not saying that it doesn't work, but this is the strategy that everyone uses. Step 3 is returning customers. Like I said earlier, most of these brands usually have good quality, good shipping, and good product / design. So they're going to have a lot of returning customers. Therefore, the returning customer rate is very high, and they don't need to spend as much money on ads, marketing, influencer marketing, etc., because they're going to get returning customers. So for example, if one of those brands drop a collection, they don't even need to run ads. They don't need to send it to influencers, and they'll probably sell half of the inventory and make their money back right away, just like that. And then after like 2-3 weeks later, they'll probably sell everything out. And the thing with this one though is like the longer the better. So the longer this brand has been going on for, the better, because they're gonna have more and more returning customers. So because of that, like you're just constantly getting more sales because you have a lot more people coming back because you've been around for a long time. So those are the 3 different steps. I literally broke it down as if you're a 5-year-old kid, so you definitely need to understand this. Now, is this the best way to do it? I mean, there isn't really a best way to do it, but it does work, right? And I am now going to explain what type of brand, the fuck does it say? What type of brand you should be, whether you should be a hype brand, right? So Hellstar, stuff like that. or a smart brand, which is the one that I just went over, right? Because these brands, the smart brands, don't usually have a lot of hype, but obviously they're getting a lot of sales, maybe even similar to the hype brands, right? So hype brands are brands that either get a lot of traction from organic marketing, so they get a bunch of viral videos, maybe the influencer or maybe the owner is an influencer, or there's a bunch of celebrities and a bunch of people wearing it. Now usually the thing with these hype brands is they do a drop method, which means they drop once a month. This is the reason why I think both of these work, and you're usually going to make a similar amount. So if you look at the revenue of a hype brand versus a smart brand, it's usually going to be similar, because hype brands usually have so much demand but not enough supply. The smart brands usually have a lot of demand or a lot of supply but not enough demand. So it technically evens out, which is the reason why I think you guys can literally do both if you would wish. So I'll go over the hype brand first. So for the hype brands, typically they can charge a lot, and they're going to charge a lot. So you can expect like $100 per shirt. Think about all those influencers that have a clothing brand. They usually charge a lot. There's usually an exclusive luxury feel because they do a drop method. They only drop once a month, open up the website for 2 to 3 days, and that's literally it. Most of these brands will spend around 80% of their budget towards just influencer marketing. So sending it to influencers, sending it like paying for promo, just sending it to influencers. That's their literal only way to get sales. Their pieces usually need to be unique or objectively good for this to really work, and obviously they have a lot of connections. The con to this is obviously you're only opening up the website for a couple days. Now you guys might ask, oh, why can't I just open up the website every single day? Well, guess what? That's when the hype fucking falls down. The only reason why hype exists is because set amount of people can't get it, right? So for example, if your website is open 24/7, there's not going to be as much hype compared to a brand that closes their website, because of the fact that they can access and buy from your website and buy the clothing whenever they want, which automatically just kills the hype. So this is the reason why this whole thing doesn't work if you don't close the website. Now, like I said earlier, there are pros and cons to this. I think personally for me, I can never do this type of method unless I myself am an influencer that have a lot of connections, or I'm well off already to the point where like I don't really give a fuck about my brand, and it's like a passion project, right? But for me it's a little bit different because this is a business. I don't like putting my future on risks, or things like, oh, it might happen, I might sell out. Like, no, I need to sell out, right? I need to get sales. So that's the thing for me personally. I don't like to put my future on like hype. And the thing with this is it's not stable. So for example, if you send it to like 10 influencers, let's just say every single month, you're not going to get consistent sales, because like the influencers might not get as many viral videos. The influencers might get shadow banned. The influencers might get a crazy viral video. Like, it's going to go up and down, up and down. Obviously business in itself does go up and down, but I think compared to the smart brand, which I'll go over right now, it fluctuates way more, which I think it's a little bit more riskier. So smart brands, what are smart brands? These are just brands that have a good business model. They don't have any crazy connects. The owner isn't an influencer. They're usually a nobody, and they just have a good business model, and because of that they're getting sales. This is, in my personal opinion, the most stable business decision, because you're not depending on anything really, right? Like, just like for example, the problem with influencer brands is if the influencer falls off, the brand is also going to fall off. But for example, for me, I was never up. So, I get no views, but let's just say I got a bunch of views with my content. And I fall off. Like, I get no views, like nobody really knows me anymore. My brand will also fall off if my brand was tied to my personal brand. Obviously it's not, because it's not. But if I was an influencer, let's just say, and I had a clothing brand and I started a brand after I became an influencer, then that has a direct correlation on how you do, which I don't think is a really good thing, because nobody is like popular forever. You know what I'm trying to say? So that's the reason why this is stable. Most of your spend is heavily on ads. So it's more like numbers, right? It's like, obviously ads can also perform bad, like it's not as stable, but compared to influencer marketing, it is way more stable because it's just math, right? Like, you're pretty much guaranteed an X amount if you put an X amount in. But for influencer marketing, you don't know exactly what it is. It's like a gray area that you don't know anything about. So that's the main reason why it's a little bit less riskier. The only downside to this is like your drops slash hype won't be as good. Like you're never going to be a brand that everybody wants to buy because anybody can buy it, right? And there's not going to be a real buzz around your brand because of the fact that you're just open 24/7. It's very easily accessible. Now, which one do I recommend? Actually, I recommend both. I think you can implement both. Obviously, you can do hype drops. You can send it to influencers and also be a good business model and have like the smart brand. But I think they both work. Like there's a bunch of brands out there that do this method where it's just hype. There's a bunch of brands that do the smart method. But I think they both work and there's nothing wrong with choosing whichever one. Just depends on what you want. So that's pretty much it. I do need to take a shit right now. But if you guys do want to work with me and have me teach you how to start and scale your clothing brand, there's the link in the bio. First link, click on it, see if you're qualified. If you guys are, I would love to work with you guys. Obviously, we do have a qualification thing because I don't want to have anybody join our program, because if anybody can join, like I said earlier with the same example with hype, it probably means the type of quality that are going to join aren't good, right? So we're pretty strict with who we do accept, but I do feel like if anybody watches my videos and you guys are really about it, you guys are definitely going to be qualified. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.